What is the one tool that you can use to totally replace your entire gymnasium? I've been waiting to make this video for a long time. I love kettlebells. I think a lot of folks know me for kettlebells, but everybody knows the feeling of January. You've gained some weight, and you just want to go out and buy something, or call someone and pay someone a lot of money to help you on your new fitness journey. And as you know, this thing just doesn't last very long. By 2 weeks, I think what the numbers are in, I think somewhere upward of the 90s. A lot of folks don't follow through, or don't at least continue with their goals past the second or third week in January. But anyway, in this video, I really want to talk about this number one tool. Well, it's my number one tool, and I want to mention 3 things at least that I think are a good idea to buy this particular tool. Okay, and I'll leave my details in the email. I'll leave my email in the show notes, just so that you can actually reach out to me if you want some advice on what size to buy, or maybe a couple of lessons or resources online, because there's a lot of free resources online. You just need to know where to look to get some credible advice in any space, actually. So okay, let's jump right in. Okay, the first thing I really love, in fact, before I get into the first thing, let's talk about a bit of history, okay? People know kettlebells to be Russian, but we can safely say somewhere out in Eastern Europe. They were used by farmers in the produce markets. They were used to weigh certain things, and in Russia they actually they measure them in poods, and 1 pood is 4 kilos, and it goes up in 2 poods, 3 poods, 4 poods. 4 poods would be a 16 kilo, for instance. So they come from the produce market. They were used, as I say, to measure fresh produce, and I suppose the local folks started to throw them around and juggle them, and they noticed just how strong they actually made them to be. And I actually suspect that's why Russians through the 80s and a large part of the 90s were actually superior to a lot of the world from a physical standpoint. I really think it had something to do with the fact that most Russian kids grow up with kettlebells all around them. Okay, and then how I got started in kettlebells, there's a guy called Gabello, TKZ member, and my condolences, I think I need to say, to Gollo, whom I knew, and they obviously made a great trio, made amazing music during an amazing time, and I learned about his passing recently. But anyway, it was after I met Gabello in a club somewhere, and I felt like I was feeling pretty good, and I meet up with him, and he and I always very quickly just got into this little fitness conversation. We didn't really talk about much else, really. I think I've always been impressed of how he's been able to stay in shape for as long as he has. And so every time we just kind of meet up in a corridor, we kind of share notes. But nonetheless, anyway, he shared with me that whatever I was doing, he flat out told me that whatever I was doing was probably mediocre, and couldn't level up to what he was talking about. And he had such certainty in his voice that it really made me pay attention. I've always known him to be a serious athlete, so that just the look in his eye and just how certain he was made me go and take a look. And what I saw was something special. I started to follow a few folks online. I started to read up on a lot of things. But these 3 things that I love about kettlebells, I think really just denote the plethora of things that actually are available. But these are kind of my top 3. Okay. The first thing I think I really love about kettlebells is the fact that with one implement, you're able to get the strength of a power lifter, and you're also able to improve the time of a marathon runner with just one tool. The same tool, obviously you may not necessarily use it the same way to achieve the 2 results, but the fact that you can get improvements in one end of the scale and the other end of the scale in one tool is, for me, pretty amazing. I think a lot of folks need to have all kinds of things all around them to be able to gain strength, and then when they need to do their cardio or their muscular endurance, then they have to go and either buy something else or just add more things to an already confusing situation. Okay, so the first thing, never ever come across a tool that can improve so many different physical qualities, aka fitness, like this one. And I have to say, just one tip around its ability to to improve these qualities is that what I found is that it's tough to pursue two qualities at the same time. And what do I mean by that? Now, if I'm trying to get stronger, then I have to focus on getting stronger. If I'm trying to increase my endurance, then I need to increase my endurance. And what I found is that whenever I oscillate, I find that once I come back to this other endeavor, I find that I've actually lost a little bit of strength, but my endurance is sky high. And then while I start working on my strength and I come back to my endurance, I find that my endurance has kind of diminished to some extent. And I think it has something to do with the body's inability to improve multiple qualities at the same time. I'm not saying it's impossible, but there'll always be one thing that is a little bit ahead of the other things, because while you focus on one, the other one starts to diminish. And I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the first thing is its magical ability to influence a person's fitness in so many different ways. Point number two, I'd have to say my second point is the density in the muscles. I think when I used to use the bodybuilding way of training, training to failure, training beyond the lactic acid threshold, I just found that the muscles were much puffier. They definitely were bigger, but they were puffier. And if I'm not in the gym, I found that they would just like wither away. I'd just not be as jacked as I was like 2 weeks ago. And I think I find that to be such a waste of time. With kettlebells and the practice of kettlebells, I'm able to build much denser muscle, keep my fat percentage really, really low. And I found that after certain volumes over the years, I've just been able to now, I've kind of clicked into almost like a maintenance phase, even though now I'm working on my strength again. But they give you the allowance to do the little bits over your days, such that you're able just to punch in the clock and approach it like a blue collar worker, because the kettlebell's just sitting right there, and whether it's before a meeting or before videos like this, banging out 10 kettlebell swings just to get my emotional state a little higher, try to go into a meeting a little more aggressively. The days I used to be that aggressive, I suppose. But just to lift your emotional state, I find that things like kettlebell swings and some snatches or, anything ballistic, I think for kettlebells really gets the heart rate up and just boosts one's energy. So was that 2 tips or 3? So the first one, its magical ability to affect many physical traits. And I've talked about physical traits in the previous video. Tip number 2, the density in the muscle. I'd have to say the third tip for me about kettlebells really is in how few the movements are. There's only a handful of lifts, and at any given moment in time, as long as I'm giving the upper body some love and giving the lower body some love, and I'm combining whatever movements are available, it's so easy to put a workout program together. And one more tip, I think, around the reps. And if you are choosing a kettlebell to do anything with, or any tool actually for that matter, I like to use a Fibonacci ratio. And I don't know if you know Fibonacci, just Google that. But it's a ratio that exists in most things in life. It's leaves, it's the way our faces are structured, it's the spiral, it's just so many things. And I found that ratio works very well for me in my training, because the upper body to lower body strength isn't quite 1 to 2, but very much 3 to 5. And then you can upscale that or downscale that any way that you like. So if you're using a kettlebell, you're doing something for your upper body. For instance, let's say you're doing cleans and presses, I would do 3 at the top and 5 at the bottom. And then if you want to increase that, you just start to double that over time. And that kind of gives you a bit of a framework on what you can use. So again, why do I love kettlebells so much? Number 1, they do a whole bunch. Number 2, the density of the muscle, just how one looks with such little effort, I think. I spend at least 20 minutes a day training. Obviously not every day. Some days are lousy, some days I feel like it, some days I don't. But in one of the videos coming up, I will show you at least how I work on my week and try to set myself up for success. Okay, and then just a final tip, really, just there's not that many things to do, and cognitive load is something that most folks ignore. Doing a myriad of things for your body makes it very difficult to track your progress. And I find that kettlebell lifts are so few that if your bell is heavy enough, you are faced with learning these lifts over a 12-month period, and you could spend months just doing cleans or doing snatches or doing swings, just so you can perfect the movement. And all sorts of things can happen. There's aches and pains, sometimes a few injuries. And injuries for me are not really injuries, they're more like education, because the kettlebell literally teaches your body how to become more powerful, how to be more strong, and just how to move well in the world. I hope this video wasn't too long. I hope you stayed to the end. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification. I hope to see you again with more tips on how to optimize health, wellness, and personal growth. My name is Chava Mokhali for Total Human Coaching, and until next time, cheers, bye.